British and Irish Lions against Springboks. Game number one is done and dusted, and the Lions have taken it 22 points to 17. A pretty solid comeback after being well down 12 points to 3 at half time. We will go through some of the main events in this game, some of the stats, and some of the key points. You guys can let me know your thoughts on how this one went. I do think this is an important victory for the Lions in terms of the series because we need to remember the Springboks have been in isolation a lot more. I know some of the Lions guys have. Both sides have had disruptive build-ups, but I think more so for the Springboks. So for the Lions to get this one, it's probably their best chance at getting a good win, and they've done that. They will take a huge amount of confidence going forward, but I also think the Springboks are going to come forward sharper in the next game, having had this game under their belt. Remember, they were struggling a little bit for their prep, and the second half, I think, showed them maybe fall off the pace a little bit after coming out fire and brimstone in the first half. But anyway, it sets up the series pretty well. First play of the game, you could see both sides kind of showing their hands a little bit. A few box kicks from the Springboks, up and under from the British and Irish Lions. Bigger was trying a few of those. Farrell tried some later in the game as well. It seemed to be a tactical thing, but the first one the British and Irish Lions tried offside. One of the guys was in front of the kicker. Elliot Daly got smashed by Lucanio arm early. This is what I'm talking about the box guys coming out just absolutely on fire. Hoggy had a good run. Stuart Hogg had a good run from fullback, kind of running out of his own 22, but got isolated and got turned over. And the first scrum penalty went South Africa's way. There was a lot of talk in the build-up to this game. This is the wrong front row choice. These guys are going to get smashed by the Lions guys. Now, you got to mention the fact that Sutherland actually had to start because Wyn Jones had to pull out. That's Wyn Jones, the prop, not Alan Wyn Jones, the lock. Had to pull out with a injury prior to kickoff. So it ended up being Sutherland starting and Mako coming into the 23. But yeah, the South African front row got the first scrum penalty of the game. And I think on 13 minutes it was, the Springboks got the first points on the board through the boot of Andre Pollard. I think it was Curry gave away a penalty, so it's 3 points to 0. And the kind of relentless nature of the Springboks game continued on. Like Etzebeth monstered Itoje in a one-on-one. I think it was Peter Steff maybe in there as well to make it a 2-on-1. They turned him over. They made it a maul, so it was a maul turnover. The Lions guys maybe tried to shift a little bit of the momentum because they were on the back foot. Tom Curry put in a wee bit of a late shot on Farrell. Not Farrell. Goodness me. Everyone wants to tackle Farrell. Puts a late hit in on Faf de Klerk, and you can't blame him, man. If you're a loose forward and you see a scrum half with that golden mop, you'd want to take him out as well. But the TMO spotted that one, and it's another easy shot for the Springboks to take, so 6 points to 0. The British and Irish Lions, their first chance to opt for 3, they did opt for 3 and they took it to make it 6-3. A little bit of a momentum stopper because it was very much the Springboks at that point. Itoje got the British and Irish Lions out of jail on 22 minutes. They kind of, the Springboks had a big maul, and the Springboks didn't get a chance to maul it a heck of a lot in this game, but they mauled it. Khaleesi broke off, had a massive run from about the 22 to almost the 5 metre line. Maybe he made it over the 5 metre line. But then Itoje, he just gets his big mitts over the ball. Like, I've mentioned it before, he's not the biggest guy. Like, he's not a proper 2 metre tall bit of timber, Itoje, but he's got such long arms that he can just get over the ball. And he did that. A little bit of handbags. Faf de Klerk wasn't happy with it, but it was a turnover. So a good kind of momentum stopper. The Lions were under pressure, but that managed to get them out of jail. That being said, Daly had a penalty conceded at the breakdown on 25 minutes. Should have just left well enough alone, but he couldn't resist. So 9 points to 3 for the Springboks. And honestly, a lot of that first half, the Lions were guilty of giving away some pretty stupid penalties. Like, you could argue the Curry one's pretty stupid, even if he couldn't resist smashing into Faf. Daly should have left that one alone. So it's an easy 6 points. And then Cowan Dickey on 27 minutes throws a cheeky little line-out ball to Sutherland when I guess he thinks no one's looking, but it's obviously not straight. He just throws it straight to Sutherland. And it's just unforced errors. Like, amateur hour is what one of the guys said during the live stream, and that was right. Like, you can't be doing that, man, in a game with the stakes are this high. So just gifting the ball back to the Springboks. I mentioned the Springboks being relentless. It continued in that first half. Peter Steff shooting out of the line. He nails Henshaw, and then that allows Trevor and Yakane to get over the ball and win a breakdown penalty. And from that penalty, Pollard with a long shot, 12 points to 3. It's it's looking pretty hairy, man. Anytime you give the Boks a chance, they're punishing you at that point in the game, and you just can't be gifting them stuff. And that one's not a gift, man. That's just Peter Steff with his huge work rate. He does that so well. He does it all day long. To be fair, he's starting to look pretty puffed in the second half, which is the kind of thing I think we may not see as much of next week. But anyway, in the first half, it was all there. 32 minutes, the Lions, interestingly, switched tack when they got a penalty, which was kickable. They went for touch, and then they won a scrum penalty later on, and then they switched tack to opt for 3 and then missed the penalty. Bigger pushed that one wide. So it was kind of a weird tactical choice to initially kind of go for the jugular and then, opt for the 3 when it wasn't. I mean, it was an easier kick in terms of the distance, but it still had a fair bit of angle on it. Bigger still should be getting it. 38 minutes, a chance for the Lions when Bongi Bonambi puts in a seatbelt tackle on Alan Wynne-Jones. Daly this time lines up the shot at goal, but it's short. So it's another missed chance. So not only have they kind of given away some silly errors on their own part, they're also missing the chances that they're getting. So it's still, the Springboks with a pretty comfortable lead. Right before halftime, Henshaw gets one of the very few clean breaks of that first half, but the ball slips from his hand as LaRue makes a great tackle on him from behind. And the South Africans win another scrum penalty right before halftime. They kick for touch, interestingly, to get it kind of towards halfway, but then eventually just kick it out. So it's kind of halftime. You thought maybe they're going to push for a penalty long shot in that second half, the end of the first half, but not to be. Halftime stats: possessions 57-42 in favour of the Springboks, territory 58. When I say 57-42, that was literally the stats. I know that doesn't make 100, but the stats showed 57-42. Someone joked that it was maybe just so much ball and air time because there was a lot of kicks in that first half. Maybe there's just a point something not being carried somewhere. Territory 58-42 to the Springboks. Clean breaks is 2-1, so like I said, pretty limited in that first half. Turnovers conceded 4-6. The Lions having conceded more. Kicks from hand is 22-17, which is a lot of kicking for one half of rugby. Lineouts, the Boks are 3 from 3. The Lions are 6 from 8, so they've missed a couple. Run meters 167 to 128. So overall, the numbers are looking pretty promising for the Springboks at that point. But as I said, the Lions did have a few chances. They just didn't capitalize. Second half, the Springboks front row is replaced. Like Malherbe comes on with Marks and Kitsoff in the second half. And honestly, they were a bit disappointing. Like, you were expecting a huge impact from those guys to build on what the first half guys had done, but we didn't really see it, which was a bit of a bugger. So for them, that's something that, we're used to that bomb squad effect coming on and really demoralizing guys. I don't think we saw as much of it in this game. 42 minutes, the Lions go 7 phases in the Springboks 22. They get a penalty. They opt for touch. So they are going for the jugular. They go for a maul, and it's that man, Cowan Dickey. He smashes over for a try. Khaleesi has to question the ref as to something, because I see him run out from the end goal to check with the ref, but the ref assures him they checked whatever it is he wanted to check, and it's a good conversion. So it's suddenly 12 points to 10 after all that build up in that first half. The Springboks, getting that lead, it's virtually gone with that one try, and tries weren't looking very likely at all in that first half. The second half's a very different story. It looks like the Boks have struck back pretty much immediately. LaRue with an ugly kick. The Boks regather it. Damon Delinde gets it to who gets it to, I think, LaRue. He kicks it through for LaRue to chase, and LaRue manages to force it. The TMO has to check, and my initial look at that was the pass from Delinde to is forward. And then it looked like LaRue was level-ish, maybe slightly in front, but it's hard to tell with the camera angle, because remember, you're looking at it from an angle, so it's not a clear view. But yeah, the TMO kind of has the other view in that the pass is fine, but that LaRue is in front of the kicker, so he chalks that one off. So a wee bit of pressure on the South African TMO. I thought he did a pretty good job, to be fair. I thought the initial pass was forward. You could argue it's flat, but again, it is hard to look when you're looking at a camera angle, which is not kind of flush side on. So either way, that one's no try. But it doesn't matter because a few minutes later, Faf de Klerk gets the Springboks try. It's only the one for this game. It's another one which is, it's a little bit clumsy, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It's a random one where Mapimpi's going down the wing and he doesn't get a lot of chances, but he goes down the wing, puts a kick through for Pieter-Steph du Toit, who's just given it to him. Pieter-Steph is trotting along himself and he gives it to Mapimpi, gives it to the quicker man, absolutely. And then Mapimpi looks in field, sees some space, puts the ball through and expects Pieter-Steph to chase it. Fair enough. Pieter-Steph apparently used to play fullback way back in the day before he became a monster of a man. Pieter-Steph, he's got the work rate of a lion. Is that a fair thing to say? Lions are pretty lazy out there, sleep all the hours. He's got a big work rate. And he chases it. And as he's going to regather it, he just misses it completely. I thought maybe he'd got a hand to it, but nah, he doesn't get a hand to it. He missed it. And then Mapimpi manages to kind of semi-get it and bobble it to Faf de Klerk, who's able to touch it down for the try. The TMO looks at that one. It's an on-field try. And there's no kind of clear evidence to overturn that one. So this one is given. If you're a South African fan, you may look at the previous one and say that should have been given too because it was an on-field try. Has to be absolutely compelling evidence. You could argue the first one didn't have compelling evidence, but either way, this one's given. So it kind of works out in the end. Interestingly, Pollard misses the conversion. So it's still only a 7-point ball game. So it's 17 points to 10. Immediate hit back though with a penalty for the Lions on 52 minutes. It's a bit of a concerning one for the Boks. You don't want to be giving away points straight after you've scored. Quokka Smith, he tries a rip on Alun Wyn-Jones, but Alun Wyn-Jones already had his knee on the ground, so the tackle's completed. He can't be ripping it, but he does. So it's a soft one, and it's 17-13. Another one a few minutes later makes it a 1-point ball game, 17-16. And the momentum at that point you can really feel is shifting the way of the Lions. I'm starting to think it's a fitness thing. I mean, the stats at the end show that the Lions in the second half had the Lions' share of the, the possession and territory. It really, really started going their way in the second half. And you did see some Springbok guys cramping up, really, really blowing pretty hard. So I do think blowing out the cobwebs for this one is gonna have to do them well because that they, in terms of their fitness, I don't think it was there for the 80 anyway. Van der Merwe's Duhan went close on 59, but he ended up actually being offside because Henshaw had bobbled the ball forward anyway. And actually, I should mention that Duhan, he slipped over right as he was going to the trial anyway. It wouldn't have been a try, but he slips, and it was an issue with the pitch at this ground, eh? There were so many slips in this game. Guys were falling over left, right, and centre. Scrums were having to be reset because the pitch would either just not hold underfoot, it would just tear up, or I don't know what's the deal. I mean, it's predominantly a soccer football ground, right? They've only just switched rugby to that ground after they've kind of decided to demolish Newlands, the rugby ground. But yeah, the pitch was not great. It was it was not good underfoot, and that was kind of one of the examples that highlighted it, even if it wasn't really kind of costly in the scheme of the game, but it's worth a mention. The British and Irish Lions managed to go in front on 62, a maul penalty, made it 19 points to 17, and their maul was actually looking pretty good. The Lions maul was able to get some proper pay in this game. 64 minutes, the Lions get a little bit lucky. Hamish Watson, who's come on, puts a lifting tackle on, and LaRue lifts him above the horizontal, gets penalised. I think it's a fair call. He didn't drive him in. He didn't drop him on his head. You could maybe argue it should have been yellow, but I'm all for not having any cards in the game. I didn't think it was a particularly dangerous one. Obviously, you can't be lifting guys like that, but he gets penalised, and Pollard misses the kick again. So that's 2 kicks in a row that he's missed. So it was punished. It was sanctioned with the penalty, and Pollard can't take the points, which is, again, uncharacteristic. Berger goes off on 67 for an HIA. And then the Lions win a scrum penalty. It's that replacement Lions front row that's doing more damage. It's Mako against against the Springboks, Malherbe and whatnot. So yeah, it was a bit concerning for the Boks. The front row wasn't able to kind of add that impact. Pollard also had to go off on 70 minutes with a bit of cramp, is what I'm talking about. So both squads lost their their first choice 10. So it's Farrell and Elton Yankees on respectively. There was almost another random try for the Boks on 71 minutes, but the TMO was able to spot a knock-on from Colby in the build-up, which was probably another fair call. So I'm talking about the TMO overall having a pretty fair game. 77 minutes, another more penalty for the Lions. They opt for a 3, 22-17. And at that point, the Lions weren't looking like conceding many tries. And that was looking like it was probably going to be game. Farrell had to kick that penalty and he slotted it pretty bloody well. That being said, from the restart, the Boks went long and still managed to win the ball. So they put the Lions under a heap of pressure. I think it was like 10 plus phases at the end. But eventually they turned the ball over and Hogg boots it out for the opening win of the tour. So it's 1-0 to the Lions. The stats, like possession finishes 48-52 and territory 45-55 in favour of the Lions. But if you look at second half, it's possession 60-40 and it's territory 64-36. So the Boks just did not have the legs in that second half. You could argue the Lions were able to, cut out their kind of unforced errors and whatnot as well. But I think fitness was definitely an issue. Penalties conceded as 14-8. That's also an area of concern. You can't be gifting, free territory and points that way. That being said, it's clean breaks 4-2 in favour of the Boks. So that's one area where they'll be looking at where they did kind of win that statistical battle. They were able to kind of generate some clean chances, and like run meters is 235 to 256. So the Springboks are slightly less, but they had less ball. So they'll be kind of pleased that they were kind of able to compete in that area. Tackling percentage, both sides are pretty even. 85% for the Boks, 86% for the Lions. The Boks had to make more tackles, 109 to 93. The bulk of those tackles coming from the locks on both sides, man. Mostert, 15 out of 17. Etzebeth, 13 out of 16. Etoje Laws and Alan Wynne-Jones all had 10 out of 11. So top tacklers are all your kind of tall timber guys in this one. Turnovers conceded as 12 apiece. So obviously both sides would like to cut that down. The wingers didn't really have a chance to get in the game. It wasn't this kind of game. It was a attritional battle more than kind of a flair game. Mapimpi has 6 run meters, ball in hand. Colby has 13. Duhan has 25 and Watson has 26. So not a heck of a lot when you think, a lot of these guys can get 50 to 100 run meters in a game. Kind of relatively kept quiet. Goal kicking, 4 from 6 and 6 from 8. So neither side will be all that happy with that. But yeah, as I mentioned, we got the box kicks we expected. We got the up and unders. The turf was given away, which wasn't ideal, but it is a first win for the British and Irish Lions. I honestly think the Springboks will be better in the second game. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with a 6-2 in the next game, and they'll be looking for certainly a bit more impact out of their bench, which I don't know that they got from game one. But as I said, the build-up for both sides has not been ideal, but I think the Springboks' time in the hotel rooms has maybe cost them a little bit of legs in that second half. But anyway, we shall see. You guys let me know your thoughts. How did you think this first game went? Who did you think the key performers were? Key moments. Do you think the Springboks are going to bounce back, or do you think the Lions from here kind of crack on? I do think Daly's impact on the game maybe wasn't what it could have been. We may see a change at hooker. I mean, Cowan Dickey did get the try, so he probably played a bit better in the second half when he was still on before Owens came on. But anyway, we will have to wait and see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in a week for the next one. You guys take care. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.